everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Campaign Countdown. Today we've got an awesome creator on with us. His name is Honors the Second. He is one of our awesome creators, and we're really happy to have him on today to talk with us. So, without further ado, welcome Honors, and how are you doing today? Tell us a little about what you got going on.
Yeah, man, I'm doing well. Of course, we're getting ready for the Holger, the Last Viking Go. So excited for that
Oh,
campaign.
definitely. Yeah, no, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. For those of people who don't know, he also publishes Blood Ties with us, but this will be a brand new comic all about Vikings. So we're really excited to kind of hear about what you got going on with it today, and maybe just tell us a little bit about what the campaign's all about. So if you
Oh
could
yeah,
please go ahead and just start with maybe just introducing yourself and telling us a little about who you are and what you do.
yeah. Again, so I go by Honors the Second. I've been working on that name, changing it. I don't know if I want to use that last name or something like John Doe or whatever, but I'm working on that writing name. So bear with me.
Nice.
Again, I'm an individual from a small city in Florida. Of course, the crazy state. I grew up. I played college basketball. I was always a sports fanatic, and I always loved reading comics and learning about the different types of history. So that's why most of my comics take place in a time or in a periodic for history, and I like doing some of the things in those realms. So of course, I'm a huge comic fan. Spider-Man, Static, Moon Knight. I love those type of characters. I love also grounded level stories, so a lot of slice of life. So man, I like a bunch of everything. But yeah, I'm actually coming up on my first full year of writing comics, which is going to
Wow.
be next month, I believe. So it's been a long time coming. Well, not a long time coming, but in this first year, I learned a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much it about me.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate you joining us and telling people a little about yourself and whatnot. And so we had you on a little while back for an episode of one of our other shows that we do, and we were talking about Blood Ties, which is an awesome comic all about ninjas and just really cool stuff. What kind of sets Holger apart from your other work?
Yeah, so I mean, although I guess both of them take place, and I mean they kind of deal with real life history with a little twist. I think with Holger is like one of the comics that I did a lot of research with the help of CT. I improved on my writing. I watched a lot of videos to get better at writing, and I think along with his help and watching other videos and just trying to learn and reading things, I think this is like I would say, even though I'm not, it's still an indie comic. I feel like this is like one of my a professional type comic. I put in a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort just to get better to write this, and I think this story helped me become a better writer for Blood Ties as well. And I think my recent issue of Blood Ties was my best work, and it kind of came off the me learning how to get better at it, being a better writer from this story. So I think it sets apart from all my other things that I've written, that this is like the book. I feel like this is like my book where I have arrived. So I would say that more so than anything, but also that artwork, the you guys being behind it. It's just a lot that's going in. There's so much work that's going into this book that I feel completely at peace with, and I really, really hope that it does well for the campaign.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And as you said, that we're going to be showing some of the art here just in a little bit, so we'll have some cool art to show off. But CT does some really amazing work, and I feel like he's the kind of guy who has a very similar mentality where he's always trying to up his game and do better on everything he does, because it
Yeah,
definitely shows.
yeah, most definitely. He's always working, man. Like when I say he's always working, he's working it really, really to really get better and put out good stuff. So I mean, I don't know how he can get better from this artwork because it's almost perfect for me. But he's always working, so his work ethic is something that everybody should take notice of.
Definitely. Oh yeah, that's for sure, man. And he does manga style art.
Mhm.
And what I think really cool too is that he does a lot of traditional methods. So like I know he uses like screen tones and deleter paper
Mhm.
and the whole nine yards. So it's a lot of people go digital, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is still
Right,
nice to see the handcraftedness that he puts into it,
right, right.
which is really, really awesome. So, but so as you said, the story is about Vikings. What can you tell us about the main characters that we're going to be encountering?
Yeah, so I mean, we have in this book, I did a lot of character introductions on Twitter. But in this book, we're gonna have Holger, who is the center character. He, of course, is the king of the Vikings. In this story, the descendants from Viking voyages, Vikings love to travel. They went pretty much everywhere, and I took their voyages and their travel destinations, because I couldn't pick them all, and I picked like four major key ones, and implemented them and put them on this created land called freedom. And in these four factions, we have faction one, we have North African Vikings, which is where Holger's from. We have in faction two, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, which is the Scandinavian ones. Those are the main center ones, the ones who kind of started that culture. In faction three, we have the Mediterranean, or the North Mediterranean Vikings. And in faction four, we have the Greenland and we have the Iceland. And each faction, of course, has a chieftain, and that's like the leader of that faction. But there can only be one leader, and I see that the map's up, so there can only be one king of this island. And it's kind of like, think about it, right? So this one person has a lot of power, but he can't really make these decisions until like everybody's on board with it. So that's where I'm coming from. And Holger is in charge of this island pretty much. He is the king of this island, and his thing is he wants to keep peace. He doesn't want any more fighting. He doesn't want any more raiding and all the things that is so infamous that you see on the shows, and you hear about how them being savages, and and that sort of thing. He doesn't want that anymore. He wants his people, which of Viking culture, to live peaceful on this land. And the thing that I kind of like that CT and I are going to show as the books progress, although we know, what the stereotypical Viking culture is, each faction is going to have their own little twist to Viking culture. So, you know what I mean? So North African, yeah, they're going to have some Viking traditions, but they're also going to have a little twist of how they want their Viking culture to be, while still kind of, upholding, a peaceful type of culture. The next character is Ninjal, which is his son. And even though this book is, kind of focused on Holger, as you will see in book one, he's kind of passing his little mantle over to Ninjal, because Holger's tired, right? He's been the king of Fredo for years. He's been, working strenuously to keep this peace, this tenuous peace that they've created. And he's tired. And the next person who he wants to hopefully take his place is his son. And that is the individual that he believes will continue that reign of peace. As you can see, Ninjal is on the right, Holger's on the left. And he just believes so much in Ninjal, and Ninjal has so much potential. So even though the book is centered around Holger, you will start to see, he's passing that mantle over to Ninjal. And then the two other characters that we will meet that's important is Trigrave. And Trigrave is, Holger's best friend. They're like brothers. He's like an uncle to Ninjal. He wants to get back to that old Viking culture, that going to different lands, taking it over, spreading out, making more travel. Like, he wants to get back to that. And there's going to be a lot of conflict between him and Holger because of this. And then the last person is Astrid, and I I love Astrid. Astrid is the chieftainess of faction 2, which is Norway, Denmark, and Sweden Vikings, and she wants to be king or queen of Frida, because she believes that since her culture started the Vikings, she should have that ability to lead. And that's who you see there. That's one of the pages from the book. And Astrid is a damn good fighter. She's a damn good leader, and she's forceful, right? So she's definitely tough. And as you can see, she's numerous individuals in this page. And she's just a tough chick, and she's a really, really cool character. And that scar on her face, you would definitely, get a backstory on that whenever we can work through that. But those are the main 4 characters that you will meet. So you will only be meeting faction 1 and faction 2 in this first story.
Very nice. Yeah, I love that idea of the different factions and kind of how those different dynamics will all kind of play together. It's really kind of a unique idea. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, because like when I did this, when I was thinking about this Viking story, I kind of wanted to be different. I'm not sure. I haven't really read, or actually, I haven't really seen the show Vikings. I know a lot of people talk about that, but
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that. And
Okay.
I hear a lot of it is just it's a lot of made up stuff. So I didn't want that to be my
Mm,
iteration or an inspiration. So all I
fair
did was
enough. Yeah.
really kind of like try to make this story as unique as possible.
Nice, man. Well, I definitely think you're succeeding in that direction. Now, maybe you could tell us a little bit about. I don't want to spoil necessarily anything from the first issue, but maybe without, if it is okay without spoiling anything, can you tell us maybe a little bit about what is this Ragnarok? Because there's a lot of these characters, and they're talking about this thing, and it seems like there's champions that they're choosing,
Right.
and so it sounds like that probably plays into the different factions. So, is there anything you can maybe tease us about that?
Yeah, so of course, so Ragnarok is, and I know a lot of people who have seen a little preview of it. Their first question is Ragnarok because we know Ragnarok
Mm,
is the destruction of the cosmos
right.
that happened. So when people hear Ragnarok, they're like, wait, hold on, what's going on? But in this story, Ragnarok is it's like think about like the Olympics, right? Ragnarok is a type of Olympic or a type of tournament event that decides the next ruler of Freda. So pretty much if a king or a queen steps down from being the ruler, then the four factions, all four of them have a shot at taking that next mantle. And it's not done by voting like we know, of course, for the president here. What it is each faction will put up one warrior, and the Ragnarok is a big tournament like event that puts them through several stages remaining standing. And all of pretty much the only way you can win it is if the other three die, and that's the only time that they allow for bloodshed. And the winner of that tournament, of that bloodshed tournament, gives their faction the right to decide who's their next king of Frida. So that's pretty much what Ragnarok is.
Nice. And I love that too because it definitely it brings in the kind of the manga kind of things because that's definitely the tournament. It reminds me of almost like a
Exactly.
tournament arc, which I
Right.
totally love that. Yeah.
Right. So it's pretty much like if you want to be if you want your faction to be the next leader over this land, you pretty much have to breed good warriors and fight and win it. Pick your best warrior, put them up for the test. If they win it, then you decide who's going to be your next king or queen. So, that's kind of where that whole thing came from.
That's awesome, man. And the reason we kind of see that in the first issue is, as you said earlier, Holger is getting tired and he's kind of ready to pass the torch along. And so in the beginning of the story, we see him kind of mentoring his son, as you said, and kind of trying to have him become the next leader. What went into your idea of creating a main character like Holger, who isn't necessarily the one who's the next king or the up and coming. He's actually trying to pass the torch on. It's kind of something I haven't seen. So what kind of went into the thought process there?
Yeah. So my thing is, when I watch anime now, and I know it's almost kind of contradicting because you see we're kind of passing the mantle on to a younger individual, but I
Mm,
kind of got tired of watching and reading things about, and I'm not against any young because mid-20s myself, but I kind of get tired of watching a story about a coming of age, child that's about to be this super power, whatever, and everything lies on him. And I kind of wanted to get away from that.
mm,
And that's what I'm kind of doing with Blood Ties, right? You see Kiyoshi's 17 and we're focused on a child pretty much. So Holger, I wanted to look at a person that's in their 30s or 40s. Like, how would they deal with this stuff? How are they going to facilitate these young adults coming up? What is it
mm,
about him? Why is he tired? What's his backstory, right? What's his
yeah.
future? I wanted to look more so at someone that's in their 30s or 40s that other people can relate to, instead of it just being about a kid
Mm.
or a child coming of age trying to have this power, trying to do this amazing thing. And I kind of wanted to get away from that because I'm burned out, I'm fatigued. I'm reading all these stories and I like them. I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just I want to focus on something that's about older people, older adults in their realm. They've already passed their youth. What are they doing now? How do they move forward? You know what I mean? So that's where that
Oh yeah.
inspiration came from.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I totally agree. Like uh, especially in like anime and manga, that it's very primarily about youth. You very rarely get the main characters that are older. And it does happen, but not as often. So that is definitely refreshing to see that. I
Right.
totally get what you mean, getting burnt out on that.
Right.
So, what kind of a character is Holger, and versus what kind of a character his son is? And remind me again. Sorry, what is his son's name?
His son's name is Njal, so
Nijal.
NJL. Holger is the type of character who is he's very forceful, but he's patient. So meaning when I say forceful, he's a good leader. What he wants, when he wants something done, he wants it done. He doesn't like he doesn't like to be questioned. And you will see when he's training his son, he's more tough on his son than anybody, because he doesn't want anybody to think that he's giving him son something because he's the king, or you know what I mean. And his son is, his only born. So he's rigid, he's tough. He likes to have things done his way, but because he feels like he knows what's best. And as you can see, the land has been in peace, and we will explore that a little bit, hopefully in another series or whatever. But we'll explore how the land has changed, how different it is than what it was in my head. So Holger's the kind of individual who again, he's tired. He's been doing this thing. He's been fighting. He's been here since freedom was discovered. So he knows what it was like to fight, and fight for his land and fight for his his survival. So he knows that, and he's tired of seeing it. On the other hand, he also wants to enjoy his life, right? Because his son is growing. He's being the king. He doesn't really get a chance to really spend time with his son unless he's training him. So he wants to watch it. He wants to watch his son grow. In my head, he's tired. He wants to relax. He wants to have fun. He wants to enjoy life, because he's had this whole life of fighting and running and managing things and being the leader of a faction as well as a kingdom, which is two different things. So he's tired. So that's kind of where I come from with Holger. And as far as Najal's, he's a kid, but he understands the magnitude of what his father is putting on him, the type of pressure. So he wants to live up to that. He again, as you can see in the story, he's kind of questioning his father too. In this screenshot that's up there, of why is he stepping down. He knows his father he still has the strength to lead. He still has the to lead. He just doesn't understand why his father is stepping down. So he's kind of questioning that. But at the end of the day, John's going to do what his father says, because he believes his father, and of course his father believes in him.
Now, is there any fear or trepidation from Jal about taking over from his father? Is it, what's his mindset?
Actually, yeah. So in Jal, it's in this land, it's almost unheard of to make a boy a king, right? I mean, he's 17, 16, 17, 18, and you're gonna make this kid the king of these Vikings, of all these people, right? They have to listen to a child who had married. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, yo, you could pick somebody else, to fight, or whenever, if we win, you're gonna pick me. Like, come on, you can pick Trigriff's ready. He's just like you. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't understand. So he fears what others would say about it more so than anything. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want people to question his lead, and he's nervous about that aspect. So,
wow, yeah, I could definitely get that. Now, in this image here, it seems like maybe they're reacting to the news of what we've been discussing. How are the rest of his clan gonna take this kind of news?
Oh, so we're not even there yet, but we will. Okay. We will get there. We will see. And it's a lot of stuff that I have in mind that we're gonna unfold. And I've already been working on the second book script, and it's definitely going to take it on. You're going to see the pressure mount from that second issue, and I promise you will start to feel the weight on, and then John will start to feel the weight on his shoulders as well as the reader. But in this scene, I'll let you know. So that Trigriff is the one that's in the middle with the black undergarments. I love his look. I love what CT did with him. I love how he looks. That's like that's like what I envision. The other three, the one to his left, the two to his left, and one to his right, they're pretty much his officials. They're the officials of Holger. That's like their little thing, and they advise him certain things like, hey, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. And of course, at the end of the day, it's Holger's decision, but those are the officials, and he's telling the officials, the news that I'm not going to spoil, but you guys will definitely see what the news will be for them. So yeah, and they're reacting because of course they're like, what are you thinking? Why are you doing this? And of course Holger knows what Holger knows best, and so he's going to do what he wants to do.
Right, and as his followers, I suppose they don't really have much choice in the matter, really, do they?
Right.
Well, that's interesting. So I really like the dynamic. So you got all this stuff going on with who's going to be king, but then you also have got the Ragnarok, and so I assume both those things will kind of be playing out in the next several issues going forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very
You would
nice.
definitely, and one of the issues I have this in mind to do this big Ragnarok event is just going to be centered around Ragnarok. So I call it meathead lovers, including myself, meathead lover. I love fights and action. That will be the book for meathead lovers. So
Nice. No, that's awesome. I was actually about to ask you how you're planning to balance the action with the other elements of the series. So
yes, yeah. I mean, when you talk about Vikings, you want there to be. I mean, the first thing people think of is like the action and the fighting and the killing and stuff like that. And when I think about how I have the issues lined up, of course there will be some fighting, but it's more gonna be the story's gonna more be about like dialogue and talking and having others see what's going on, like different types of conflict other than fighting. Of course, there's gonna be action scenes, taking place in several books, but I wanted to make this one more so less focused on action and more so on emotion. And I feel like once we get several issues in deep, even the first two issues that we are working on, as you'll see with this one, I want people to be connected to these characters, because when I wrote these characters in mine, and when CT and I was talking, like, I want these characters I want you to relate to them. I want you to understand like why someone would do certain things, why this character would do that sort of thing, and why this character would feel that. So more so, I just want people to be emotionally connected to these characters more so than anything.
Nice, man. So character definitely is very important for this story.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Character development, and of course the emotion aspect. And I think where we're headed is it's gonna be some good stuff. Like, I'm excited to get there. I can't look too far ahead because I don't want to figure out where we are, because we're not even on the first one. But
It's hard not to look ahead sometimes, man.
if everything goes well, I promise people who when they back this, when they read this, it's definitely gonna be good.
Nice. And how many issues do you have? Kind of a rough estimate of how many issues we're looking at for this series? Or
Actually, I'm looking at 10 issues in this series. I think
nice.
10 issues is a good balance of the story that I'm trying to tell with Holger, the Last Viking series. And that's where I hope to get to. And I think that I definitely think it's possible to get there.
That's awesome, man. Now, transitioning over to a little bit to talk about the campaign itself. Obviously, we'll be sharing the campaign as it pops up in the next couple of days. So the launch day is this Wednesday, I believe. What is the date again for that?
Yeah, so that's going to be July the 1st. That's my birthday month. So if they want to give me a present, they can support.
Right, that'd be awesome. How awesome would a birthday present would that be to
exactly
see on that?
Exactly.
No, that's great, man. So so Wednesday's when it launches. So it's going to be up on Indiegogo. As I said, we'll be sharing the link out and spreading the word on that. But I thought maybe we could go over a little bit about what people can expect from the tiers and what kind of goodies you're offering on display here to this time.
Definitely. So
yeah, go ahead and take it on the floor.
Yeah, so we have three tiers. Of course, we have the Ninja Dollar Saver is what I'm calling it. That's going to be a $5 digital comic. Of course, your phone, you're going to be able to read that on your tablet or whatever. And then the next one, we have an Asterisk double pack. And that's going to be, you're going to get if you want the physical and the digital, you're going to be able to receive those. I know people love the physical books. The pages, there's 28 pages of great art and story, as well as a map that you will follow through. That's going to be inside the physical copy as well as the digital. So for $10, you get the digital and you'll get the physical. And then for the Holger support bundle is what I want to call it. If you want to support, if you want a little bang for your buck, you're going to get the digital pack, which is $15. You're going to get the physical copy of the book, as well as a Holger poster card that you will see. You would get a screenshot image of Holger. And I think it's beautifully drawn by CT. So for $15, you're going to get that. And of course, the physical and the digital version, as well as a a poster card. But other than that, we have 3 tiers right now. Of course, if the books is on a great trajectory, we're definitely going to try to think of some more and put some more tiers in, depending on how it's going. But those are the 3 starter tiers that we're going to have.
Right, and I know we talked a little bit about it, but I think you're really trying to focus on kind of the really just focus on getting the book out there and not have all these bells and whistles necessarily, but really focus on the content of the story.
Yeah, I call it like that because this is my first campaign. It's like a boots to the ground type thing. You know, I just want people to lock in and focus in on this book. However you want to get it. I really want you guys to get it digitally. And it's only if you mean $15, you will get a posted card. That's like an added plus. But you know, of course, maybe in the next campaign we'll add more bells and whistles. But right now it's just boots to the ground. Just guys, I really want you all to read this book. It's really about getting this book out in front of people and not necessarily trying to draw them in with just, goodies, which is not a problem. It's just I want you guys to really, really support this book and read it, because where it's going, I really feel like a lot would like it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and do you have any thoughts for any any stretch goals or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking of some more stuff. Of course, some more goodies and more artwork by CT. Maybe some, some different covers. Maybe a side little story that we can probably whip up. I'm not sure. I've been thinking of little things like that.
Nice.
If it starts panning out and starts going deep, maybe.
Nice.
Of course, as you see the way. And what I was thinking, I'm not sure if it's gonna get there, but if you see Holger. You see how it has the Holger and then the Last Viking, maybe we could do something like Astrid blank, blank, blank. You know what I'm saying? Like just like maybe a little side spin off so you can get to know her backstory or things like that. And that's where I want to go. I want to start putting out these different types of books so you can start understanding these characters while it's coming back to Holger. So maybe if the book is doing really, really well, we have enough time and there's enough free time to actually give her like a small little book about her backstory and where she comes from, then maybe we could do something like that for a stretch goal.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. I think it kind of goes back to kind of what you're saying, to really focus on the story and the story content, really get that out there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And, that seems like to be the most important thing for you at this time.
Right.
Well, that's awesome, man. I definitely, obviously for those who don't know, we are going to be publishing this new series. So we'll be putting it out, the print books, and taking care of the fulfillment process and all that good stuff. Right. And so we've had, experience on many Kickstarters and Indiegogos at this point. So we have, we've gotten good stuff back, good feedback. So we definitely feel like we can handle this campaign, and you'll be in good hands when you back this book, knowing that you're going to get good quality books, and obviously you're getting good story and good art here. So
most definitely,
yeah. So it's a win-win situation, really. So as we said earlier, the links, it'll be dropping on Wednesday when it goes live. And we'll definitely be backing and talking a lot more about the series and stuff.
And I'm definitely going to try to get that mailing list out, hopefully tomorrow noonish, so others who wants to sign up and stay up to date with it, we can do something like that too. Very
nice, man. Well, I definitely want to ask a few more questions. I want to kind of keep this thing going here and start talking a little more about what the how you met CT, and maybe how you got a little bit about how you guys got started working together.
Yeah, most definitely. So how I met CT was that I seen his work on Twitter one day, and I was just strolling. I think somebody retweeted it, and I was like, sheesh, like that looks really, really good. And I started following him, and just following his work. And I think I remember I reached out to him one time and just asked him about his work, and telling him one day I would like to work with him. And I would, and then before we really got together and started working, I would just ask him questions like, hey man, like, if I want to be a better writer, what should I do here? I would let him read some of my scripts, and he would definitely read them back and give me feedback. And he'll point me to like videos on YouTube that I should that I should watch and get better at writing, and some classes that they have free on there. And, that's what I really did, and took that and just start taking his advice and just start watching and reading up on stuff. He would send me things to read and get better at. And that's kind of how it was, just that working relationship. And, sometimes I just hit him up and just see how he's doing, because like, again, the guy works hard, and he's a really good guy too. So it's not just that, he just, works, and it's just, hey, here's your work. Thanks for the money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, he actually cares. He genuinely cares. He wants you to get better while he's getting better. So again, great guy. So yeah, met him on Twitter. You can meet really good people on Twitter. He's also booming on there too. Like his followers are going up. It's a right trajectory. It's trending upwards. So and really all I want to do is just do right by the artist that I'm working with and do right by him, because I hear these stories about these writers that are crap to artists and things like that. And for him, he's really like a good guy, and I genuinely care about people. So I try to, whenever I can, shout him out. If I'm posting something, I'll make sure to try to tag him. I just try to do right by him, so because he deserves all the following that he's getting. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And you also work with an editor, is that correct?
Yeah. So not necessarily on this book. I was gonna have an editor, but
okay.
the individual he was going through some things, so it's just it's just CT and I just doing things. But yeah, no editor on this one. It's just him.
Interesting. What kind of went into that thought? Did you just kind of want to take things over into your control more, or something like that?
It wasn't. It just, I know this individual has been doing a lot of things on he actually writes movie scripts, and I was like, hey, like, I see a lot of books with editors, like, maybe if I, have him read some more of my stuff, maybe he could tell me where to get better at it, stuff like that too. But it just didn't work out. He had so much going on in his personal life, so it's just like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
It would be a 2-man team or a 3-man team, just Wicked, CT, and I just on this book, and just that's how it's gonna go.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. And I know you really enjoy working with CT, so I definitely think you guys could. It's really awesome when you can find an artist that you love working with and who's passionate about the project.
Most definitely.
And it does seem like CT is passionate about the work.
Yeah, he is like he definitely takes pride in his work because I mean just look at the artwork, and he just works hard on it. I hit him up sometimes, and he'll definitely be working. Sometimes he doesn't get sleep, but he works hard, man. So it's just it's almost impossible to find people like that who really enjoy what they do and put their nose to the grindstone and just continues to work. And the thing, when I used to play basketball, was like, yeah, someone might be better than me, but they're not going to outwork me. And I feel like that mindset with him, like he's gonna outwork people. He's a good worker, so he's a great individual too. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, no, you guys are going to be able to go far with that partnership, I think. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe you guys will do another project down the line.
Man, listen, I've already, I know he's freaking slammed, but I've already been thinking of like, y'all want to do this store, I want to do this store, I want to just, so I got so much stuff that I have in mind, but of course, yeah, it's just, if time permits, I know the next thing I want to work on, done Ninjas, done Vikings, the only logical one to do next is Knights, but that one I feel like I'm gonna definitely need to immerse myself in. That is a thorough history, and I am not ready to go in that yet.
Oh, that's funny, man. Now you've definitely done a lot of historical stuff, like you said. You love history, and that's why a lot of your stuff takes place in history. Right. Are there any plans to cross? Are there any crossover plans? Are you playing the honors verse here, or anything like that?
You know what? Originally, I wanted, the way things was going, I seen Holger eventually meeting Kiyoshi one day from my series. I really wanted that. And I was also going to I was working on that Knight story. I was going to have like a trio universe, a Viking, a ninja, and a knight teaming up to do something. But just the timelines, it just doesn't make sense with Holger being, way in the past. He's light years behind Kiyoshi as far as where feudal Japanese is in the year just after Vikings. It just wouldn't have made sense. But maybe one day I'll just do a dummy comic, but it just how they pair up, it just makes no sense. Just go with it,
do a gag comic, like
yeah. So I originally wanted to do like that type of universe, but I'm not sure yet. So
no, I get that. It would be pretty hard to make those different time periods match.
Right.
It would take a lot of kind of work on that end, I would think.
Right.
But no, that's cool, man. Maybe, like you said, maybe some something down the line. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully one of these days.
Now, I think I'm not sure if we've talked. I know we've talked about this in the past, but I'm not too sure if we touched on today. But of course, Holger and his son are African American. or rather, I correct myself, they're African.
Right.
And so what kind of, I know a lot of people have asked this question, but what kind of world are you creating with these characters to kind of separate it from possibly make it your own kind of thing? Like, how are you kind of incorporating all these different ethnicities and cultures and different things like that?
Right. So my thing is almost cultural immersion. Of course, I've taken classes and things like that. And I know you have to tread lightly when you're going in different parts of history and then kind of implementing people that look like you. So for instance, I am a Black individual. I get questions all the time. Why a Black ninja? Why a Black Viking? I know guys seen on Twitter. I know you've been tagged in on. One of the questions that people usually ask me is, "Yo, why are the Vikings Black? Like, what's going on here?" And pretty much what I'm doing is I'm trying to bridge that gap. Like, I understand people. It's like that's not possible. There's not Black Vikings, but for me, what I like to do is find a loophole, a way to add, like a different culture. Like, who's to say Vikings? Who's to say this can't happen? They traveled so much. I'm pretty sure they left some of their culture on certain people that they traveled to. Who's to say a Black individual like their culture is like, hey, I want to do that. Why can't they? And I try to find loopholes. Same thing with feudal Japan. We know that Oda Nobunaga had a Black samurai. His name was Yasuke. That was a way to get Kiyoshi in there. There's ways to implement that. So that's kind of what I look at. I like to go back in time and look at history, read the stories, and be like, I can add this here. Because at the end of the day, it's nonfiction, right? I mean, there's some realistic tendencies. Of course, it's history, but I wanted to make characters that, of course, that look like me, and the same thing with other individuals. Like, you look at the person or the comic, the superhero from Marvel, his name is Moon Knight. I mean, he's a white guy that got his powers from an Egyptian deity. Like, come on, like they do that, and they done the research. Why can't I do something to that nature? So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, honestly. Yeah, kind of playing with history and do your own take on it. Me and Matt do it all the time when we write Project R, and it's totally that kind of own thing.
Me and Michael have taken plenty of historical liberties, and that's part of creating, and that's part of fiction itself, is taking something that's known and creating a little bit of unknown with it, and maybe even spice it up a little bit with something that people would never expect.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what you've created here, honestly.
Right. And the thing is, you gotta be, I would like to say, you have to understand the culture to some degree. Because, if you just go in there and you just, put anything down, you can end up offending some people. And that's not what I want to do. And I made sure when I first got the Viking, feedback, I reached out to individuals. I think I put out a tweet and I was like, hey, is there anybody that likes Vikings? And there was a lot of people, from Scandinavian countries, parts that reached out and was like, hey, like, I like Vikings. This is my culture because this, and that. Let me read it. And I would let them read I let them read like a page or two. And it was like, okay, like, again, they asked me why the Black Vikings, and I explained it. They'd be like, oh, okay, well, remember, in our culture is this, and that. And I just jot those notes down for the next book. So now I know like how to add whatever culture they're in there so they can see it, so they won't feel offended what I'm doing with this, with this story.
And that's the other thing I love about your story too, is that it's got all these different factions, and you're kind of allowing to tell these stories that couldn't otherwise be told in that setting that people are so familiar with, and it's so compelling, that kind of Vikings setting and time period. And so yeah, and like you said, at the end of the day, it's not this is a story for fun, and so to bend those elements and take, as Matt said, take those liberties, I think for the sake of the story, I think that's actually great. So, and I know, when we first started talking, that was one of the things that stuck out to me from the characters, was just how unique their characters were and how cool and fun they seemed, like these characters in these settings. And I was like, I would just want to know their story. So, so I definitely think you've got something here. What can you tell us about some of the other clans and the other factions that you have on the island?
Yeah. So, in book 2, you will from the script, you will definitely get introduced to the third and fourth faction. And I tried to make each faction, of course, they have their own distinct little culture, and I tried to make sure you can tell just by not even if you look at the color of the skin, but you can tell like what this faction is about when you look at, when you see the dialogue or when you read it. So, for instance, the Mediterranean faction, you would definitely see that they have a lot of disdain for Trigriff, and you will see that little relationship building there. Also, with the Greenland and the Iceland, you will see how carefree and fun that they are. That I'm trying to make them as well. So, you would definitely get an introduction to the chieftain and chieftainesses for those two factions. For instance, Faction 4 has two. They have a chieftain and a chieftainess because Greenland and Iceland, they merged together, so they have two leaders there, and it kind of makes for a unique relationship between that faction. So, hopefully we're taking the right steps to just make this its own little thing. Because what my whole plan is, when people read it, I want it to be like, oh, that's my favorite faction. Like I identify with them. That's like, and kind of like the Harry Potter houses. Even though I don't,
nice.
that, it's like, yo, I'm definitely from faction 3. Like if I was in there, that'd be my faction. So that's kind of where I'm coming with the mindset of as well.
So with that in mind, are you going to kind of give just as much credence to the other characters in the other factions as you do, say, Holger and his faction?
So again, that's like with the plan. I'm hoping, and I know it's a long shot, but dream big. I hope to one day, if this thing gets big enough, I can do branch off stories. We get to learn about and see a story from the Mediterranean faction or faction 3. Like, what's their conflict? What's their story? Maybe another book about faction 4. What's their conflict? Like how they get there. And I kind of want to bridge all these together, but having different books on this entire world, because the world of Holger, there's so much stuff that you could do. And my idea is like they eventually people are going to get tired of this island, right? They're going to want to expand out. So let's follow that adventure. So hopefully one of these days we could tell the story from each different faction and give the credence. But as much as I can, I'm going to try to fit some story about each and every one of them in here somehow, some way, while not trying to take the focus off of Holger. So we'll see if it's possible to do something like that, but that's kind of like what the plan is.
And so, speaking of the rest of the world, so what's going on out on the larger world of Holger? Are things moving about in the rest of parts of the world, kind of thing?
So actually, this is like a years after the Viking coach, so people don't even think Vikings exist anymore.
Oh wow! Oh, that's hence the Last Viking.
Exactly. So that's why I wanted to call it that, because we're gonna see why I gave it the Last Viking title. First of all, people in the outside world, of course, Vikings, they have moved on. They've taken up different types of religion. They've immersed themselves in different cultures. So they don't really. On the outside world, they really don't know who the Vikings are. But again, and that's why you'll see Trigriff is such an important character in the story, because Trigriff wants people to know who they are. He wants to get back to raiding, trading, looting, all that type of stuff. He wants people to fear them. He doesn't want to stay in this. He doesn't want to stay in this forgotten world. And there he is. Oh, I love that. I love his look. But he wants people to fear the Vikings again. He wants that world again. He wants to live that. So
no, that's awesome. Right, real quick, is it flashing for you, or does it look okay, that image there?
No, it is flashing.
Okay, I was just trying to make sure. I was like, is that me or?
Yeah, I honestly thought it was my phone. So.
Well, no, that's really interesting. I love the idea of this kind of this safe haven for the last living Vikings, and how they've kind of all culminated on this island with these different factions, and how does that play out with the now that they have to live all so close together, and they're unknown to the rest of the world. There's a lot you can really go with that.
Right.
So, quick question: Is Frida more like you could say like a made up island, or is it based off of an island that you researched while setting up your story?
Yeah. So Frida is a made up island. I when I was talking to CT, I wanted to create this island for them. And what's fun is it's not funny, but it's so I'm kind of bridge off for a little bit. So X-Men has this, I guess, this island called Krakoa that's in the new books that it's like this island for mutants, and mutants go there. It's like the self-sustaining island, and they don't have to deal with humans and blah, blah, blah. I literally created this story before I started reading that. So I didn't even know. So if people want to kind of compare it to Krakoa and the Frida, then that's a great comparison. What it is just an island for Vikings, people who kind of want to still live that Viking tradition. They don't want that to go by the wayside. This is the island that they all migrate to. It's self-sustaining, so they have food, they have enough water, they have everything that they need. They don't really need to go to the outside worlds and get that sort of stuff, because this island, and what I was thinking is this is going to be a creative island, a creative island that's not on any of our maps because we couldn't find it. So that's kind of just pretty much what it is. It's just a creative island that they can go to. That's a safe haven for Vikings, pretty much.
Kind of a lost island,
exactly.
Kind of lost history.
I can actually kind of see that being, in a sense, a real concept, because that was what Vikings were really known for.
Right.
You know, like when I was researching them, I always came across like the story of Greenland and Iceland. You know, on how they're really kind of opposite. Iceland's really green and Greenland
exactly.
Ice. Right. And the reason why they did that is because they didn't want people invading their lands.
Right.
So they kept telling people, "Oh no, we're from this place." So when people would go to raid it, there's nothing there,
right.
And they're like, "What the hell?" And that's kind of what added to the mystique and this ominous aura, you could say, of like the Viking culture and how they acted and everything. And it was like researching, and I was like, "Wow, that's fucking smart."
Oh, yeah. They have a lot of dope history. They're like they were intelligent people as well. They weren't just savages. These people were brilliant. They were smart. They were great at naval. They were just good at everything. That's what I like to say. They had like little pieces. So other than feudal Japanese history, Viking culture is another thing that excites me, even though I really didn't know much about it. It's just every time I seen them, I was like, "Oh, dope Vikings! Like they're cool." You really dive into their history. It's like, yo, the way these people lived, it was. I probably wouldn't have survived it. Feudal Japan, I wouldn't have had much of a chance. But even Viking, I don't think I would have done it.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, that's kind of like the joke I always say. Like, shit, comparing ourselves to, let's say, just the medieval era of humans, shit, a kid would probably be able to kick my ass.
Right.
You know, I mean, the lifestyle that they lived was way rougher than ours.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So, what kind of challenges is Nijal and Holger going to face?
So the main challenge that we could see, that you would definitely see in the first issue, is Nijal's challenge is being accepted. So if Nijal goes, if they win it, if faction 1 wins Ragnarok, it's the challenge of being accepted by his peers, being accepted by the people that's older than him, and them taking him as a king seriously. That's, he's a teenager. That's what he's thinking of. Like, people are gonna like me, pretty much. That's pretty much what he thinks in his age. Holger's challenge is trying not to let whoever's going to be the next king or queen fall into the wrong hands, because what he's worked so long to accomplish can be wiped away if the wrong person steps in the office. And that's not what he wants. He wants to continue to promote peace. He wants to continue to promote self-efficiency between each factions. And that's just what he wants. He doesn't want to fight anymore because he's done that, right? And in the book you will see, he says that this old king has lost his will to fight and his will to lead. Like, he doesn't want to do it anymore. He just wants to rest, while he still wants this land that they have found, that his people have found, to be prosperous and to be peaceful, because it can go south in a minute, and you will see the challenges of how it will go south and who is going to be behind it going south. So,
and I imagine he probably also realizes that he can't do that he can't be king forever.
No,
even if he's
and the island has a certain amount of years that each king will have, and then they have to step down for the next to rule. So,
and that's actually a perfect segue here, because I have to picture them out to bringing up here. which is Najal kind of trying to come to terms with that idea of now it's his turn. It's his turn now.
Right. Again, nothing's certain, right? Because again, and I say this because you don't know what's gonna. I promise you don't know what's gonna. Me and CT know in our mind, but like it's not for certain that faction 1 will win Ragnarok. It's not certain, but Holger believes that faction 1 breeds the best warriors, and I wanted to give each faction, something that faction 1 breeds the best fighting warriors, because of course physicality, they're more athletic, they're stronger, they just breed the best warriors. However, other factions, they have things that they do just as well, so you will see those different types of fighting styles. Each faction will have their own little fighting style, and you will see that in Ragnarok.
That's gonna be fun, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see all the different kind of styles going up against each other and see how each faction tries to take advantage of that and come out on top.
Right.
And
I do have to ask this: is at least one of the factions very strategic when it comes to battle?
Actually, yes. And again, that's what faction 2 is. I mean, those were the individuals who started this whole Viking culture. That's their thing. They are brilliant. So they have different ways. They have different ways of planning, strategizing. And you will see that with Astrid. She knows exactly like what she's going up against. She knows which individual she's going to pick to participate in this event, and that's all faction 2. Now again, we have some other factions who are better at naval when it comes to fighting on water. So I want that to be seen, and I want that to be noticed with each of them, with each of the factions. So
right, that's good, man. Now, something I actually wanted to bring up about this image here, kind of in the little blurb on the right there, you say he is a bit of a prodigy and he's trained by his king, or rather the king, his father, and shows great potential. So what kind of what makes him a prodigy? What is so special about Najal?
So Najal, again, even though I wanted to get away from that whole child being super great and being, you kind of add that because it's a manga inspired. But Najal is just as when Holger and Trygriv were his age, he's probably even more skilled. He's probably the skill level as far as fighting as a chieftain. So he could probably go one-on-one with a chieftain and hold his own. And as far as his mind, that is where that's where it is. And Holger believes that Ninjal is probably one of the smartest people on the island. And that's why he wants Ninjal to take his place, because he thinks that Ninjal will push Frida further than what he ever could. And that's why it's so special for him to pass this mantle to his son, because no one has the mind that he feels like. No one has the mind that Najal has. So as a prodigy, he can fight just as well as anybody, but he can outthink and outsmart mostly anybody that he goes against. He's definitely in a league of his own in his peer group. So anybody that's his age, he definitely in a league of his own. But it's just, you know what I mean? So it's but he still has much to learn, because again, even though he's a child, he's naive. So thinking of what people aren't going to like me, that's why I don't want to be like, it's just those things that he has to overcome.
So for Holger, it's not just a matter of, oh, he's my son, I'll pass it down to him. It's really because he believes in him as a leader. And
I would like to think that Trygriv, and just the character that I'm writing him from, he's not going to give anybody anything just because. So it believes that he is the one that should be running this land, then he believes it is beneficial for this land, for the land of his people, which is why the land is the way it is because of Holger. But he believes that Ninjal will push it even further.
Nice. That's cool. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and so going forward, when will the Ragnarok arc begin? How many issues do you plan before that kicks off?
So how I got it, so first one, of course, the introduction. Issue number 2 is the lead up to Ragnarok. You will see, hopefully, you will see more of Ninjal in issue 2, and start to understand the character, start to see him learn and grow. Ragnarok will be issue 3. In my mind, I hope that's going to be the way I'm thinking about it, and the way how long the script's going to be. I feel like that's going to be, a a big comic because I want to fit Ragnarok into one book. I don't want it to be over several issues. I want it to be an action-packed, nonstop book that's lengthy, because I want people to really relish in this book. So Ragnarok is going to be, in my mind, one issue. Of course, if CT and whenever that script is in the folds, if he believes it should be maybe a spread out, then we'll look at it and we'll do it that way. But in my mind, we're going to have one issue. So Ragnarok's going to be hopefully issue 3, one big issue of action.
Right. a big old issue.
Right.
That'll be cool, man. And are you going with the traditional left to right kind of style?
Yeah, so it's going to stay left to right. Although it's heavily manga inspired, it's going to be a traditional American comic. I don't want to turn people off because I've had some people ask me already, like, it's manga style. Do I have to read this thing right to left? And it's like,
yeah, some people aren't too good at that. You know, if they're not, they don't read a lot of manga.
Right.
It can be a little bit disorienting for some.
Right.
And so for some others, it could be that they're more used to, you could say, not necessarily just like the whole comic thing, but also like online digital comics as well. Because some places will actually turn the mangas into left to right format, so this way it'll be easier on them to read. But I don't know. For manga, I've always read it right to left. It just and then comics, I've always read left to right. I've never had that problem.
Right.
Right. I think it just depends on what you've probably mostly grown up with. Now, I do want to say here, Johnny Fitz in the chat says the art looks so amazing.
That it does.
And he ain't wrong. Feast your eyes on that art. No, I mean, he's not wrong. The art is absolutely amazing, and you know, it really speaks for itself. It's got such a strong, unique sense of style, and it's just the work he does is clear. You think he's been doing it for decades and decades.
Yeah, I really don't imagine anybody else on this project. It's just hand to glove fit, artwork, style, writing. It's just all together. And I get again, and I keep stressing this. I really want this campaign to do well. I really want to get this book into the hands of as many people as possible, because I think they would be thoroughly impressed and enjoy with not only the art style, but as well as the writing. So,
well, that's awesome, man. And you know, are there any themes? You know, as we start to wrap up towards our time here, I always like to ask, you know, are there any themes or messages or any kind of thing like that you're trying to bring across with Holger?
Not really. Of course, when I did Blood Ties and the other works that I'm working on, the other books that I have in plan, you know, Blood Ties is about you know kind of some racial stuff, things going on there. We want to show how an individual deals with racism, being outcast, segregated, that sort of things. With Holger, is really just a book that you could just pick up, read. There's nothing out. There's no outside influences on it.
Nice.
I did say this on Twitter. I really do believe this book will be, I think anybody from all walks of life will be able to identify with this book, whether you're from the LGBTQ community, LGBT plus, whether you are with the Black community, white community, it's just anything. You guys will be able to identify with this, and that's what I'm hoping for, people to pick up this book and find somebody or some type of thing that identifies with them, for them to continue to read, because I really had in mind to write this book for just anybody that wants to pick it up and read it.
That's excellent, man. I really think people nowadays appreciate books that just kind of allow you to get in there and enjoy the story and the characters, and not have to get too involved with so much heavy stuff. And so, come like this just to have a good story and tell these really great characters. I think that, like you said, it'll be a book for everybody. So I think that's something to look forward to.
Right.
That's awesome, man. Well, is there anything you want to tell us that before we get started here? The campaign's dropping this Wednesday.
Yep.
That's July 1st. Just a few days away. What can you tell us as we prepare for that campaign to launch?
Yeah, so this book is not like any Viking story you have read. I promise you, it's going to be an epic book follow a journey of a man trying to maintain peace on this island for his people. There's going to be so many things, so many factors that's going to play into it, and I promise you, you're not going to know what's going to hit. You might think you know what's going to happen, and it will never go the way that you think it will happen.
Oh man, that makes me excited. That's excellent. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. I know I'm super excited for this comic, and it's going to be awesome to see when you guys launch and see the response from everyone. We'll be putting out that link again on social media. And speaking of which, why don't you tell us where everyone can follow you on social media, make sure that they can get that link once you drop it.
Yeah, although I'm relatively, I say that with quotations, relatively young. I don't do social media. I have one social media platform, and that is Twitter. And you can follow me at Black Ninja Bam, real original. So it's just a Black Ninja Bam.
Nice, man. And you're posting all your updates and all the good stuff over there?
Yep, exactly.
Very nice. And I'll put that over here in the chat so people can go ahead and follow the link there, and also put in the video. So if you're watching there on the replay or watching live, you can definitely check that out. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, I wish you all the luck with this campaign. As you said, it's your first campaign, but I think you're gonna hit the ground running, and I expect a strong showing. So yeah, I'm very excited for you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you guys, for real.
Oh, you're welcome. And please, everyone in the chat, if you watch, thanks for joining us. If you're watching the replay, we appreciate it. And definitely go check out his Twitter, and be sure to check out the campaign for Holger, the Last Viking, once it drops on Indiegogo this July 1st. That's just this Wednesday in a few days. And pick up the book, check it out. Maybe you'll like what you see and become a backer of the book and become a new fan. So we appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Everyone take care.